Welcome in a new journey with developers. I started this indie dev journey of talking with developers because I'm very curious about why did they succeed as an indie developer and what we can learn from all those stories. I hope you enjoy as well. Last month I talked with Jacob, a passionate auto designer who made with his team a murder mystery with RPG elements. This time I will interview a game that you maybe know because it's on the Xbox Game Pass. It's very flashy, it's very arcade. It is Yousuckatparking. Well, sit back and relax or make notes, it's all allowed. I'm going to interview Jeroen Janssen and he is the co-founder of Happy Volcano because I am thinking all the time about Pixars. So I'm just immediately going to go right into that question because I'm wondering if there's an interesting backstory. And why Happy Volcano?
Because there was a poster in Peter's house that was a happy volcano. There's no deeper meaning.
That's okay. Well, the Happy Volcano is also a short video from Pixar, I think.
Yeah, they completely ruined our SEO. Like if you now look for Happy Volcano, there's a lot of videos of the Disney short.
Yeah, in the end you are like, oh wait, this is going to have a different meaning for other people.
Yeah, and your Google results are not as good anymore.
Oh, well, I mean, I think with your title, You Suck at Parking is...
That's much easier because, yeah, there's not a lot of products that use the word suck in them. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
It's daring to use it.
Tell you we're the Parking Simulator 3000, you wouldn't be interested. But if I tell you we're making a game called Yousuckatparking, then you immediately want to know more.
Yeah.
Because that's something weird. Why do you call yourself your game that? Sort of like getting people's attention, even though they didn't see screenshots or maybe have never seen a trailer. People are immediately curious.
What's the name of the game early on then, at the beginning?
Like, yeah, well, maybe like a month in or something. I think the Unity project is still called like Parking Game. Yeah, it was quite fast that we came to the conclusion like this is a good title.
One of my viewers wanted to know, are you good in parking yourself?
No, I don't have a driver's license.
Oh, you don't have a driving license? How did the idea of the game came to light?
Well, it was at the end of production of our previous game. Very dark story game. We were all getting depressed by working on it for so long that we wanted to make like a happy game, like a fun, colorful little thing. We always wanted to do a game with a car or something, and then kind of brainstormed what can we do with the idea of driving or racing, because we always tried to sort of find like a creative twist on things. And here the creative twist was what if it's a racing game where you have to stop and then you come to parking.
Yeah, I just felt when I was playing it, I felt, wait, there was an old game that I remember, and it really felt like it. It was Micro Machine, right? Was it like inspiration for the game?
It's a game we played as kids ourselves, so definitely one of the inspirations. The other, I would say, What a Golf was definitely also an inspiration, because it is sort of golfing but with cars, and you have to put your car in a parking spot. It's sort of like mini golfing, and also the humor that they use. We try to sort of bring that as well with the physics objects that make for very chaotic and funny situations that happen constantly.
Okay, what was the biggest challenge of this game?
Almost everything. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. It's our first big game. It is cross-platform. We've never worked for Xbox or PlayStation. It's a multiplayer game. It's got sort of like a games as a service part. It's all new things that we as a studio didn't do before. Because like driving a car, that's the easy part, but it's all the rest that surrounds it that made it a cool challenge.
So you say that this is the first like really big game that you guys made. Like, were other games what we know of your studio?
Yeah, the one we did before was The Almost Gone, which is published by Playdigious. And then before that, we did another game called Lava Fever, which was on the iOS store, but isn't anymore because every couple of months they change some API and you have to redo your whole game.
Is that an iOS issue, or is it also for Android, or like?
I'm guessing it's for all stores. They update their SDKs and then you have to rebuild your game. And in a way, it's a good thing. But at a certain time, the game doesn't sell enough to warrant working on it anymore. So then you decide, obviously, we're not going to update it anymore. And now I think they even have like a rule that if you haven't updated your game for X amount of time, they remove it from the store. So if you do like a new build or update it, then it comes back. And then in between, we did a lot of games and other apps and stuff for other companies. I sort of work for hire. We started in 2013, so almost 10 years now.
So if I hear this correctly, like, because most people say like, just to make a mobile phone game, it's super simple, but basically to keep it on there is like the biggest task.
Yeah, you need to update the game and you keep working on it, which makes sense if your game is popular and you want to bring in new features, and obviously that's the reason behind it. But yeah, at a certain time, games don't sell anymore or not enough, and then you have to make a decision.
And this game was on the Xbox Pass, right?
Day one Game Pass, yeah, both on PC and Xbox, yeah.
Will it stay there, or is it like later on just paid only, or is it?
The way it works is that you stay on Game Pass for a certain amount of time, and then they can renew that license or that time frame. But yeah.
And yeah, that works, of course, to get your game to the picture, right?
It's incredible how many players you get from there, because basically it's free, right? Yeah, you play, I think what is $12 or something per month, and then you get access to 300-400 games. That's insane. But it also changes a little bit the perception of players, because if you don't hook them in like sort of like the first 10 seconds or the first minutes, there's all these other games that are free for them and they can just pick and choose. It's like watching Netflix. If the first episode of a series doesn't trigger something, then you're not watching the rest of it. And it's the same for games. It's both a blessing, but it's also it gets more difficult. Yeah, it's not really a curse, but you have to take that into account in your game design, I guess, that it's really fun from the start.
How did you implement this kind of thinking in your game design?
Well, I don't think we did it with this game. The game design was already there for a long time before the Game Pass deal was there. But it is something that we're currently working on, because our FTUI, our first time user experience, can be better. And so that's something that's, it's not going to be sort of like a tutorial, but kind of like it. And it's just giving the player sort of a park where they can drive in and figure out the controls by themselves and figure out that it's actually a really, really difficult game, because it looks very cheerful and colorful and funny, but actually the controls and the finesse you have to sort of do really good times, it's really hard. So you have to gradually bring your player from not knowing how to play the game, obviously, to mastering, and in between they have to have fun. Like I said,
I had the feeling when I was playing it, like the campaign was a bit more challenging than against each other, because then it was like total like, oh, there is a P, oh, I can stop there, oh, there's a P, I can stop there. With the campaign mode, I don't know if you like remember the old Worms games. It feels a bit like, just now you need to really master this kind of ability.
Yeah, and it's definitely designed that way as well. So each island has sort of a couple of levels on it and have certain objects or obstacles, and we really train players to avoid them, but also to use them in creative ways. For instance, there's like a magnet that pulls you in, that your car explodes. So that's a bad thing. You don't want that to happen. But if you jump on the side of the magnet, because it pulls you, it slings you like way across the map, and so you can get better times by sort of using these things. So it's all of these things together in sort of
I think
using them in a creative way.
Every magnet that I could see, I was just trying.
They're really hard sometimes. They're really hard. But yeah, it's the single player, like you said, is very different, because the single player you're playing against a level and against yourself, I guess, beating your times, and the multiplayer, it's sort of a multiplayer, but also it's not, because obviously you're with a lot of people, you're with 7 other people players in there, but it is sort of doing your own race, and because there are different parking spots all over the map, you don't go all for the same parking spot. You can choose your own way, and you don't always see the other players because they're off on the other side of the map. So it does give you the competition without sort of the stress of people trying to.
Yeah, that makes it feels different from Micro Machine, where you all had the same path and always when you fell down? Like
No.
you knew very fast if you were going to be last or not.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just a different way of giving the player a
Of adding
challenge.
competition, right?
Yeah.
How long did it took to make this game?
We started December 2019 because that was sort of like the porting and QA stage of the Almost Gone. A few people of the team had some room because they're not working on the game anymore, so they can start prototyping. Like in day 2 of prototyping, we already knew this is going to be a really, really fun game. Obviously, it took us till September of this year, a little less than 2 years. And we're still updating the game. Like this December, 1st of December, we did the first big updates. It's now all about lava. Well, not lava, but fire. Your car can get on fire and it explodes, but you can also give that fire to another player by bumping into them, or to another object by bumping into them. So that's another layer on top of the previous things. Because we have the grasslands, that's normal driving. We have the snow landscape, and there's the road is more, you glide more, and now there's fire involved, and it's bringing all of these mechanics together. There's endless combinations we can make, and that's the beauty of this game. It's sort of like a playground for our level designers as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like I also with the ice thing, it was a bit weird that when you bump on something, then suddenly you were not in ice anymore. Could you also slide into a parking spot when you were like
an ice cube?
Block? Yeah,
you can definitely do that.
Okay, that was it.
It makes it much harder, but you go a little bit faster as well. But yeah, you can definitely park as an ice cube.
Oh, because most likely when I'm an ice cube, I think, I lost. So, but I could keep going then, in a way. Maybe I should retry it with being an ice block.
There's a whole new technique opening up.
I played it with my controller and also with my keyboard. Do you did you had some favorite in mind when you were designing, or like?
No, we knew we wanted to make it for PC and consoles, so you have to do the controller. But lots of PC players still play with keyboards. It's a little bit harder on keyboard because on a trigger controller you have more leeway. Power of your car or stopping the car, it goes more gradual, while on the keyboard it's either the key is on or off. Yeah. But we see that even in the high scores, people from both control devices get good high scores.
Ah, nice. And how many people were working on this game?
At the moment we're with 21.
21. Okay.
When we started on the game, we were with 6 or 7. But yeah, it's a big team.
What are the challenges with working with such a big team then? Because you also work with a smaller team.
I don't think there's a big difference in team size, because 20 you still know everybody and you know what they do and what they've worked on. I think if we would grow a little bit more, then it's like 30 or 40 people, then I think then it becomes challenging. But the challenge for us was mostly we were a hybrid team, remote first actually, because we have 10 people here in Belgium, but the rest is all over the globe, France to India, and bring that connection between people that if you walk into an office and you talk to people when you get a coffee or whatever, it's much easier to get to know them than if you're on a Zoom call and there's 20 faces and you have to talk to 20 people at the same time. And that sort of brings its own challenges in sort of fostering a certain culture. I don't think we're there yet, or found the magic trick to bring that. It's a constant trying and testing out stuff.
Okay. With the artwork, was it very clear at the start that take this route?
No. This is art style number 4, I think. I think you can even find screenshots like from like very early on that looked completely different. This is a 4th style. Even this one sort of evolves. If you look at the grassland biome or the snow biome, and you look now at the jungle biome with the fire, the new update, detail, the texturing, it's improved upon, and we try to improve on everything a little bit so that it looks nicer and nicer as we go along.
Okay. You can only change your car by cosmetics, right? Not by settings.
All cars, they look different, they drive the same, but there's no like power boost or going faster or braking or turning, or that's all of them are the same, because you don't want to sort of bring the pay to win into a game.
No, I didn't mean pay to win, but maybe one car is bigger or one car is smaller or these kind of things, right?
Yeah, we tried stuff like that, but we found out that actually it's more fun if everything is the same. It also makes our life a little bit easier, because if your car is bigger or faster, some of the levels wouldn't work. And if you have leaderboards like we have in the single player, then if you have a faster car, obviously you're always going to be better than other people. So you would need to like leaderboards for every car type and so on. That makes it so much more complex.
Yeah.
So every car, just the same handling, only looks a little bit different.
Yeah, that's a smart solution for that. And you said like there were a lot of challenges, almost like so if you would redo the game or remake it, like what would you change?
Oh, what wouldn't we change? That's a better question. No, I think things that we're doing right now, like bringing in like friends lobbies or friends parties earlier, like the new onboarding of the player, that sort of stuff. Yeah, the only way to learn that is obviously to release the game, because you can do some playtesting, but in the end, once there's like hundreds, thousands of players playing your game, then you really get the good info. Like releasing the game on 4 platforms is really challenging, especially because one of them, Nintendo Switch, is a lot less powerful than the others. If you have a PC or the new consoles, they are very, very beefy, very powerful. But yeah, the Nintendo Switch is basically the powers of a mobile phone. So that brings its own challenges, because you want the same FPS or almost, and the same level of detail in the textures. But all of that is going to be a little bit less on Switch, because the device can't handle all of that stuff.
Oh, okay. I thought the Switch was quite advanced because it also can play, Breath of the Wild is quite strong as well. So, okay, but you encountered some other issues.
Yeah, I guess part because Breath of the Wild is probably made with their own engine, while we use Unity, which is very good in a certain way, because it makes your life very easy. But at the same time, it's more difficult to bring it to Switch. You have to make some compromises along the way, I guess.
So if you port it to the Switch, what do you need to do?
I have no idea. I'm not a technical person, so I don't develop. What I do know is that we need to do a lot of optimization, making the game faster, and that's by making the 3D art simpler. That it looks simpler. It needed to be like less polygons, so that the device doesn't have to calculate all of that stuff. Also, like in textures or in shaders and the visual effects, we needed to make all of these, or we are making them right now, all of them, especially for Switch.
So you're not the tech guy. What was your function in the team?
I'm the managing director. I guess my main function is finding money to pay the people that work for us. That's sort of
How do you
that's the
find
number
money?
one priority. How do you find? Not on the street, I can tell you that. No, it's about the deal we had with Game Pass, or we have an investor. We can also go to publishers, or some countries even have like local government that have a game fund which can apply to all of that sort of stuff. Different sources, and obviously at the end, when you can sell your product, there's also money coming in. But before that, there's a gap of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, however long you make your game. But there's no real income coming in, so you have to have some sort of budget to be able to pay people over those years.
Yeah. So and how did you roll into the game industry?
Pretty late, I think. We were working, like, there's 3 founders. There's me on sort of the business side, Peter who does more the technical side, and then David is more on the game design side, creative side. And we worked for an advertising agency in Belgium. 10 years plus worked there, and so we were kind of fed up with another commercial about a car or another commercial about the washing power. That's sort of, nope, we're not going to do it anymore.
Commercials about cars.
There might be. The seed was planted somewhere, and we always, the 3 of us always wanted to make games, but sort of, on your own it's really difficult. And the combination that we have, one on the business technical and then the creative side, was a good combination to sort of start. It was in December 2013, I think. And then we worked for a long time, like in the weekends and after hours. And only in 2017, we then actually started like a full-time studio.
And if we go to the audio, how was the audio decision of this game?
We're working with Almut Schwacke, who is a German composer. I knew her from 2 other games she worked on, and I really liked her audio design. Like, she's sort of a Foley artist. That means that, for instance, for like the screeches that the tires make, she uses like a rubber hot water sort of thingy and to rub that on the floor. And so she makes all of these things with weird little objects that she has in her flat. She's also a really, really good composer. The music that she makes, it really fits the game. It's a little bit funny. The synthesizer sort of ref like you would see like some racing like person do the vroom, 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 and then she does that with her synthesizers, and so bringing all of these creative little things into her music, we're really
nice.
proud.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So how did she make the stopping sound then? Did she also throw something on the ground?
I have no idea. We should ask her.
Okay, very creative in that way.
Yeah, definitely.
And how do you make it so smooth to drive? Because I think that's the most challenging to fix.
Yeah. So the car controller, as we call it, it's that's been iterated on for a long time, because David really wanted that to feel really good, easy to just drive. But if you really want to be good, you have to sort of really master it. That was a long time, with a lot of hours in that.
Yeah, that's what I think it should be. It should be very challenging.
Yeah, it's the main thing that you do. It's driving around, so it needs to feel good.
Do you still play it yourself?
Yeah, but I'm really bad at it. Yeah.
Okay.
Like everybody in the office is sort of super good times, and for some reason I'm really bad at it.
Okay, you really suck at parking.
I do suck at parking, yes.
I always like to ask for also the viewers, what would be your advice if you want to start as an indie studio?
It depends what you want to do, what your goal is. If you want to make like a really personal game, small indie arty thing, or if you want to make lots of money, you have to start thinking about your goal from the start and making decisions that way. But I guess what I would say is start small, your first game, downscope it and downscope it and downscope it, and then it's even too big. Don't start on your open world RPG as a first thing, because you're never gonna get it finished.
Like the scope, has it been cut down a lot within the process?
Yeah, it was cut down for release, because we just didn't have time anymore to fix all of the features that we wanted to bring in. But I think the game as it is right now is sort of what we actually wanted to release. Two things that we still wanted to change, but most of the things are in right now. But yeah, it's really hard. Like, you can't really predict game development, because it is an iterative process, and you have to make it and feel it and see if it's fun or not. But you can only do that when it's been made, and so you have to work on it again, and sometimes you lose a lot of time. Like, for instance, the multiplayer wasn't part of the initial game, so we had to bring in that later. But yeah, that took us like almost a year to bring that sort of to life. Very unpredictable, and that's the reason why you need to downscope so much. And
how many maps are there though?
a lot.
Oh, there are
a lot. Yeah. So I think, don't pinpoint me on the numbers, but I think we have over 150 levels at the moment.
Okay.
That's only in the single player, and I think we got 60 or maybe even more in multiplayer. Yeah, there's a lot of levels.
That is interesting, because when I was doing it, I just had a repeating map, and I didn't play it that often. So
the 60 maps are not all there all the time. So we rotate them in and out, see what people like. I think there's around 20 on rotation each. Well, every couple of weeks, or we change them. We change them up, because otherwise, indeed, you're always playing the same map, and it's get boring. But if we bring in new and we take away some, it gets more interesting over time.
But how do you find out what people like as a map? Because you basically get a random map, right? Or can you?
Yeah. So there's two things. There's analytics in there, so we know what people play. But also we have a Discord, which the community is very vocal about which maps they like and which they don't. And we asked them, what would you do? What would you be next, and so on. So they sort of can influence a little bit what comes next, or
what kind of maps are the favorite?
I think right now the favorite are the fire maps, especially for players that have been playing the game for a while. It brings a new mechanic, like you can get on fire, and it brings a whole new that brings a whole new challenge for them.
Was the washing also early on, or was that later on? Like, we want them to have a bit more chances.
No. That was always the plan from the start, because you get on fire and you drive a little bit faster, so we give you an upside to it. But also after a certain amount of time, you explode. So you need to give player a chance on the way to remove the fire, and that can be both if you take like the water shower, or you can bump into another player and then sort of tag, and and they get on fire, and you remove the fire. Yeah. Or there's objects that you can bump into and it removes the fire. It makes for a sort of dynamic mechanic on top of all of the rest of the shenanigans.
Yeah, and then you have the feel that you can kind of try to get someone on fire or not,
Yeah.
right? Because the only way that there was really interaction was when somebody was on a peace sign, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to drive him off the peace sign.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. You want a little bit of that competition or that's annoying the other player, but you don't want that too much because then it becomes another game. But indeed, it feels really good. Deny someone their last parking spot that they needed to get or something, or like putting them on fire. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Did you have a target audience in mind when you were making this game?
I think we ourselves are the target audience. we wanted to make this game because it was cool and we really wanted to play it ourselves. We didn't do a lot of sort of like target audience research or sort of personas or all of that stuff. And we know that from the community and so on, it's been played by both men and women, and age ranges are really like we have people from 50 in our community, but also like 14. So it's a game that can be played by anyone. So there's no really set target.
As long as you are your own target, you kind of know what what you want, right?
You kind of know what you want, yes.
So and all of your teammates played like Micro Machine and these kind of games, right? Or...
No, they're too young.
Oh, they're too young. Oh, are you the oldest one in the team?
Not anymore. But I was the oldest one for a long time.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we have a lot of come straight from school and that did an internship with us, and we really liked their work, so they stayed. But yeah, the founders are around the same age, and then there's two other people that are a little bit older, but most of them are pretty young, too young to play Micro Machines. At least the very first one that gave us the inspiration.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So it's kind of bringing it in a new
generation. Yeah, but it's good that there is this big age difference between us, because they bring in their own sort of pop culture and the games that they played as a kid, and so it's good for like inspiration that there's like different genders in your team and different ages and different places in the world where they come from, and each brings their own sort of background and ideas, and that makes it super interesting to work with them.
Yeah. No, you also, because you say that you're still working on the game. Are you also working on other games then? Because different people in your team.
Well, we're porting to PlayStation and Switch, so that takes a lot of time from the team. But we're also working on new features, like I said. But we're actually at this time deciding on what's gonna be the next game ID. There's like 3 IDs that we need to choose from, and that's really, really hard because all of them are good. We can see potential in all of them, both that they're fun game and also that there's sort of a business case for them. So it's really hard. We're not gonna be able to choose this year, but soonish we need to make that decision.
But isn't it that if you choose this one now and then next time the other one?
Yeah, but the problem is that making games is a really long process, so it takes a couple of years. And by then the market is completely changed, and then a game ID that's cool right now might not be cool in 2 years. So plus you always have new IDs. Pretty sure in 2 years when we finish the next one that we'll have lots of other IDs to choose from.
Do you also feel that you could build up from the past experiences of the other games that you made for your mobile phone?
Yeah.
Did it influence Yousuckatparking?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we had sort of we had, I think, around 8 design pillars from lessons that we learned from previous games, and sort of this is the thing that needs to be like it needed to be really like one mechanic that you can iterate on and make lots of new stuff with, which became the driving with the obstacles. And if you put one new obstacle, then it opens up an whole new world. It needed to be easy but hard to master, easy to start, and all of these things that we learned from our previous games and that we thought this is going to be important for players right now. So, and that sort of focuses your mind a little bit on game IDs.
So if I say Apple Volcano games, what would you say that these kind of games are?
I don't think we have like sort of a set genre or this is a Happy Volcano game. But like I said before, what we really want to do each time is put something that's familiar, like racing a car, and then adding a creative twist on. And in this case, it was stop your car instead of driving it, and sort of work from there. And then you have a set genre, like the racing game, but it is a very different game than any other racing game out there. And that sort of makes it easy because you can build on all all of what's been before, but it also is something unique.
Which feedback from your target audience changed the game a lot?
Like we worked for a long time without the game being public. So the initial game design was done with us. Obviously, we did some game testing along the way, but what influences more is right now, because we've built up that community in the Discord and on our social media, and there's like a community suggestion Trello board where we put everything that the community suggests. If we do it, we move it. If we're not gonna do it, we also let them know. And I think they have a big influence right now, more than when we were still developing in the game.
Because nowadays you have a big Discord group, if I hear it correctly.
I don't know if it's big, but it's very, very active and very vocal. And they should tell us what they like and what they don't like. And then we need to find a way to bring that feedback to sort of a feature or a change. Because what players are really good at is finding something that's wrong, but most of the time they come up with a solution that they think is gonna fix it, but because they don't know all of the back systems, that's gonna create like other problems. And then it's on us as the studio to sort of translate that into a new thing.
Yeah, and that's of course the challenge, right? Because a gamer is like, yeah, why don't you do this or that? And it's like, yeah, because of these elements will also change if I change this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, on that regard, which elements really changed because of that a lot?
Oh, there's lots of different small stuff that makes their life easier. For instance, something really, really stupid, but that makes a big difference. It's like having the name of the level when you do a replay, because then it's easier to sort of record that and use that as sort of finding new strategies to go along the map.
How long do you think that you still will work on the game?
We keep working on it as long as people keep playing it.
Okay.
As long as it makes sense. Like with the iOS game, when people stop buying it, then it's also time to stop working on it, because we need to feed our team.
Yeah, and that was
there
your
needs to
job,
be money
right?
from somewhere. yeah, that was my job indeed.
To find the money.
Yeah.
Do you have some last advice or some last things that you really want to share?
Advice to who?
To all of us. Like, what is the
all of us.
amazing advice that Jeroen Janssen can give?
Be a good person.
Ah,
That's
nice.
the best advice that you can give, I guess. But no, like if you want to start your studio, like I said, start small. If you've never done game development, start with copying other games, like older games, like Space Invaders, and then work your way up. It's a very cool industry to work in, but it's also a very hard industry to work in, because it's a sort of hit or miss driven. Sometimes your games sell well, and sometimes a good game doesn't sell. Keep your day job, I guess, especially in the beginning. That will make your life so much easier in the long run. And then once you have your first success, give up your day job and start working full time.
Okay, so your advice is like have a stable income first and then try it out, basically.
That will be so good for your mental health, that you have a stable income while you
Yes.
do, because it's a creative job. You need to be creative, and if you're worrying about other stuff, you're not going to be very creative.
That's true. Okay, that's very good advice. Well, thank you very much for all your different advices and you sharing your story about Yousuckatparking. And if you have some extra questions for Jeroen, feel free to ask them in the comments.
Bye.
Wow, that was a long one, but I hope that you got inspired to maybe create your own studio or create games or just get some other information of life, because that's really the reason why I hold these interviews. So next month I'm going to interview a true solo developer. He started his indie journey 7 years ago and now his game is out. He made a RTS kind of roguelike for people that don't have a lot of time. So if you're curious about that one, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification. And of course, if you're nice, you can give this interview a like. So see you in the next one. Keep creating and gaming. Bye bye.